What's going on, guys? We have TMNT Journeys number 5. This has been a series that I've been really enjoying here lately, and up to issue 4, definitely recommend. This is all Peter Laird's artwork, stories, all that. And just to kind of give us a quick little recap as to anything that's kind of relevant at this point, the Utrams, like Krang being an Utram, so it gives you an idea for those who don't know. The Utrams have invaded Earth, and they do appear to be peaceful. Now, I have a lot of reservations on that because, like I mentioned before, even though Krang's not somebody in this, Krang's an Utram. He's been evil. They've had bad dealings with Utrams in the past. And I think we're still going to have not so pleasant exchanges here. But so far, everything looks to be on the up and up. And then right at the end of issue 4, we saw Raph and Mikey wander in the sewers. I believe they were heading home. And this robot, who I've said looks like a beefed up Professor Honeycutt, or Fugitoid, whichever you prefer, this emerged from the water and approached them, and that is where we're going to be continuing here. So one thing that we're going to start to make note of here is these different symbols, and as you see, each symbol is related to one of the turtles. This will be relevant at the end of this book. For right now, we just need to kind of keep it in mind. So, like I said, the story kicks off where we left off in issue 4. Raph and Mikey, they're fighting with this robot. And I do have issues with this, and I'll get to that here in a second. But they're fighting. The robot's just trying to, stop everything. He's like, wait, hold on. And they eventually get to a point where, the robot, he's just kind of defending himself. I believe it's Raph over here, jumps on his back. He flips Raph off of him, and then resorts to a tactic where he's kind of like absorbing the weapons into the body. So we see it here with Raph. His side gets absorbed, both of them. And then Raph is trying to tell Mikey not to attack with his weapons, but it's too late. Mikey's nunchucks are also absorbed and held onto. And they're just like, well, we don't need weapons to defeat you. And he's just like, well, would you just chill for a quick second? And this is the issue I am having. Now, I understand Raph can be pretty aggressive, but even here, I still feel like this is out of character for both of them. Neither one are going to try and hear out somebody that they're not aware of. They automatically just go on the attack. And it's like, I get you guys have dealt with things like the Mouser droids and things like that, but this is trying to stop the fight. The only attacks that are given are strictly out of defense, like right here where we see him flipping Raph off the back. He's not trying to throw blows, he's trying to talk with them, and they're just not hearing that. And I feel that is a bit out of character, even for somebody like Raph. Raph will hear reason from time to time, even though he's a bit of a hothead. But finally, like I said, they're over here saying, well, we don't need weapons in order to fight you. And he's like, you know what? I should have just shifted, did like a power shift or a form shift prior to all of us meeting. And yeah, we do see it's the Fugitoid. So I've been saying that since issue 1 that I kind of feel like that is who that is, just from the overall appearance of him. How there were similarities. He just looked like a really beefy Fugitoid. But yeah, now everybody's relieved, or at least Mikey's relieved. Raph is still on the defensive here. He still doesn't like robots. I mean, he's confronting Honeycutt. Is like, why were you kind of skulking about in the sewer? And Mikey's quick to come to the defense and is like, he's probably just looking for us and got lost. And Fugitoid reluctantly is like, yeah, that's kind of what happened. And so they're going to go ahead and go back to the turtle lair and let everybody else see that Honeycutt's back. But that's, Raph's still not the happiest and says, I hate robots, and, pushes them back in the water. And Fugitoid's like, for the last time, I'm not a robot. Now, technically, he is kind of a robot, but for those who might not know, Honeycutt is like the brain of a human within a robot, and that was transferred from one to the other. Now, that's just kind of a very simplistic version of that. Go ahead and, just kind of catch up on some of the reading, but at least gives you an idea as to what we're talking about here. So we're going to cut over and take a look at what's going on. We got a couple guys that are in the Coast Guard, and they seem to have their work cut out for them. They're doing their best just to kind of keep all pedestrians away from the Outram Island over here, just kind of until things get sorted out. They just don't want people crowding out because you have no idea what it could escalate to. You don't know what everybody's intentions are. They're communicating with this little boat over here, and these guys are just like, oh, come on, man, I just want to see the little green men. And the Coast Guard is letting them know, and then also letting us know that there's going to be an Outram ambassador who is actually going to make a world address that'll be on pretty much all television networks later that day. He's like, so if you want to see the little green men, just tune into that. And they're doing their best just to kind of clear things out, and then we see what looks like the vessel carrying the ambassador has taken off and is making its way towards the UN, where the address will be made. We then catch up with April and Casey, and we see April's not in the greatest of spirits, and I did forget to mention this before we got started, that in the very first or second issue, we see that Casey and April are trying to have a child, and April went to the doctors to try and see if they were in fact pregnant. And we do get confirmation here. I'd been kind of wondering if maybe the doctor just wasn't able to see her or anything, because she was kind of bummed out leaving the office, but it's like all the chaos with the Outrams coming in, she might not have even seen her doctor and is just stressed out about that. But we do get confirmation she is not pregnant. Said maybe it's time to give up on the dream of having a baby. So we know that she is in fact not pregnant. Now Casey comes in. They're getting ready to watch the address from the Outrams, and he's like, "Hey, look, just cheer up. I got your favorite snack. Let's just come on over here and enjoy the address and eat some snacks." So that's what's going on there. We go over to the turtle lair. Now Donnie and Leo get to see that the Fugitoid is back. And of course, we already know this part, but he lets everybody else know here that, that there is a connection between Honeycutt and the Outrams. Like him being here along with the Outram, that's not a coincidence. That's all. They are connected. But now that it's time to tune in and see the address. And we see basically everybody's covering it. Of course, the states are. We see this reporter out in Moscow. Everybody cares. And then we focus in on the UN. And our ambassador, his name is Korriban. That's the best I'm going to do, and we're just going to roll on with it. So Korriban is saying, we come in peace. We mean we don't desire conflict, conquest, any of that. We actually are hoping to, bring you into a greater world. Basically saying, with us here, we are hoping to be kind of a waypoint for other aliens to, come in and, share technologies and things like that. And so that's what we're seeing. Now, meanwhile, we're seeing not everybody's so keen on the idea of Outram invaders coming in. And we're at the Manhattan militia, and this dude is he's not having it. He ends up shooting the TV during the address, and I'm just like, you're a fucking moron. You're like, you could just click the TV off, and that would have the same effect, and now you're not out of a TV, for which he is rightly criticized here. Now, maybe violence wasn't the response, but I mean, yeah, calling him a dipshit, that's certainly something he deserves. Meanwhile, we cut over with Splinter, Shadow, and company, and they're also watching the address, and Shadow's talking about how she's heard many stories about the Utrams and stuff, and they seem a little awkward. They're a little awkward looking and kind of creepy. And Splinter says, he's had dealings with them too. Not all were the greatest. The first time that Splinter ever got to talk with the Utrams, he was actually kind of kidnapped and put in the TCRI building way back in like the first 5 issues. But he said that despite all of this, that they've grown to be like an honorable and respectable creature. And Shadow is just, she's not fully trusting of everything. And we also get over here, we do see Karai is also watching the events unfold with this address as well. She doesn't say anything. We just see that she is also paying attention to what's going on there. And meanwhile, our ambassador here, he is saying that he understands that not everybody's going to accept and that they at least are given a chance. He says that the plan is to remain on Earth for a year, in which time, after the year is up, if they are no longer welcome, they're going to go ahead and leave Earth the same way that they left it. So it's like that little moon core that they came in on. They're going to defuse that from the bottom of the ocean and return it to the moon, and won't return again for another 100 years. So it sounds like they want to be completely peaceful. It's like, look, we get it. We're trying to have an opportunity, but after a year, if we're still just not welcome, we will leave peacefully. He then thanks everybody and says goodnight. And so then the rest of this page, I'm not going to read all of this. I'm just going to kind of sum it all up. Is just, we're doing a flash forward. We're going to go forward in time about 6 months, and this is just letting us know that there was, in fact, chaos that broke out among all things. So like the stock markets were fluctuating all over the place. Various religious groups were having to deal with the fact that there was like extraterrestrials out there, and how that all plays out within their religion, and also just overall like chaos amongst just regular civilians, right? Panic. But then eventually everything starts to calm down, and everybody's like, okay. And then there was, what is it called? A Xenoform Protection Act was also put in, to where the Utrams, along with anybody else who may come to visit, will be able to wander the Earth without being harmed. And this doesn't just apply to aliens, as we'll see here in a second, that the turtles are able to take advantage of that as well. So like I said, we flash forward 6 months, and we're seeing that April, Shadow, and Casey, they're making their way as some of the very first visitors to the Utram Island that are human, that is. We see that the Utrams are on the ship that they're part of, along with other alien species as well. And then they're pointing out to something out the water, and we get another glimpse at our turtles, who seem to be on like basically hot rod jet skis here. Like they look very fast. And so they go and put them on the dock that looks like it is specially designed for these jet skis. So I guess it is Utram technology. I mean, it's a fair assumption. But yeah, it's these docks are specially designed for these little jet skis. They fit perfectly over there. So I would say that is Utram tech. Now they were saying Casey, April, and Shadow, the conversations that they were having was that the turtles had been in this 6 months before regular humans were going to this island, that the turtles had been back and forth on their own. Because they already have connections in with the Outram race. And so everything's great. And we get a first glimpse at those tattoos that we saw at the very beginning of this book. So like we see here, we got Raph, Mikey, Donnie, and Leo. And this does kind of have a slight little continuity error here. So a little joke is made. It says, "Welcome, Earth people." Now we see Casey is looking over here and says, "Real cute, Don." Well, based on the tattoo, Donnie's right here. I know my camera's not going to show it, but just have to trust me on this one. That tattoo right here on the chest, that's actually the one that the front of the book is saying that is Donnie. Also, April looks over here and says, "Hi, Raph." So that is Raph who is there. So Casey saying Donnie to Raph is a little bit of a mistake there. Again, it's a nitpick. It's not anything real relevant, so not a big deal. But it is something I picked up on. And so, everybody's just chit-chatting back and forth. We're getting explanation that this island is completely without weapons and that these little tattoos, one, kind of help them look more alien, I guess, and also help distinguish the turtles since they no longer can hold their weapons at this island. And Peter Laird does kind of let Donnie throw a little jab at the idea of having different colored bandanas and said that would be pretty dorky. And I'm like, look, I like the multicolor ones. I also am a pretty big fan of the all red. I'm good either way, but obviously Peter wanted to throw a slight little jab there, and I'm okay with that too. I just I found that a little fun. So they all are making their way into the island, and they have to pass through this scanner. And through this, we also see that the Outrams have hired the Foot Clan in order to kind of help quell any kind of violence that may take place. And this does not go unnoticed as we see Casey and Raph are talking about it. Casey is like, well, what the hell are those guys doing here? And Raph does kind of back up the idea. It's like, well, no weapons. Those guys are pretty good with hand-to-hand combat. So, it's like, it all makes sense. They all start to pass through the scanners. But then suddenly, it goes off on April. And this causes all sorts of Foot Clan members to make their way over here. We got an Outram over here. Looks like all hell's about to break loose. And that is where our story ends. Now, I do have a theory on this one. Because what it says up here, let me read it word for word. It says, prescribed weapons tech detected on human female April O'Neil. And that seems to be coming from the machine itself. It says, apprehend, isolate, and contain immediately. So my guess is what the scanner is detecting is April being pregnant. And so they'll see like a little life form on the inside of, of her. And that's what's raising the alarms. I think that this is actually going to end fairly peaceful. We will see in the next issue, of course. And this is how April and everybody is going to find out that she is in fact pregnant. That is what I'm assuming is going to happen. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm okay being wrong. I mean, that's half the fun of just kind of going through this. But we did get like a little reminder earlier in the book when we first saw April that she's feeling pretty glum about the idea of her and Casey conceiving a child. And so I think that was put in there just to kind of give us a reminder. So when you go back and read through and after the next issues there, you'll see, oh, in fact, yeah, that was kind of set up already. It's kind of put in the back of our minds. So I think that is what we are looking at. But yeah, overall, very, very satisfied with it. It's not exactly action-packed. I think that our our two turtles here fighting with Honeycutt and not willing to like talk with them. I think that was just kind of the way that it was for the purposes of having an action scene within a comic book. So it's not just so dialogue heavy. But it, like I said, it does feel like they are a little out of character because of that. So I would say that this is probably about an 8 out of 10 book. It's probably not my favorite of the series so far, but I still think it's a very solid book. Like, there's a lot of intrigue in what's going on here. You know, I'm still very skeptical of the Utroms. We saw in the previous issue is like another way that they were able to kind of get on the side of the humans when they first arrived is they brought back all of these astronauts who were like lost for a couple weeks, along with the spacecraft that came with it. Now, I still think that those astronauts might themselves be Utroms. We do know that they'll do that from time to time. They'll I think that's how we first saw them, where they were like scientists. But of course, the Utroms sit in the bellies of like robotic, humanoid type robots with like fleshy skin and stuff like that. So they, it's like a Terminator, only they're sitting in the stomach of it. And we do see, just as a good example of, I guess we can go to the very last page. We do see one of these Utroms sitting in the stomach cavity of one of those robots. And so I'm still not fully trusting of the Utroms here. But yeah, like I said, about a 8 out of 10 book, if not higher. A little out of character, and that does knock it, but I don't know. I could be a little harsh on that one. But it's been a very good series. I've been really enjoying the Journeys series so far, and I would certainly recommend this one to anybody wanting to get into like Ninja Turtles. Like, I still think you could start with this one and just understand that there are things you're not going to understand right away. Now, it does give reference, so if you are confused, you can go back and reference that. But I still think that you can start at issue 1 of the Journey series and just kind of see if maybe the Ninja Turtles are for you. And if not, hey, no harm, no foul. But that is all I have for today, guys. So until next time, take care and God bless.